We just received another weather statement from the National Weather Service. The Kansas Highway Patrol reports hail up to the size of baseballs just east of Halstead in Harvey County, 25 miles northwest of Wichita. The storm was moving to the east at 15 miles an hour. This is a dangerous storm, and we think now that the reason it's dangerous is because of the hail. We have an official notification from the Weather Service in Wichita that the tornado warning for Harvey County has expired. There is no more tornado warnings in effect for any counties in Kansas, but we have rough weather out there now in Harvey County. John Wright's right in the middle of it. Let's go to John in Mobile 22.
And this is an all too familiar spot I keep finding myself in during these storms. And right now, as you can hear, the hailstones are coming down marble size and pea size. No baseball size hail just yet. But we can tell you we're looking up toward the sky, and it is very dark, very foggy. We cannot see any clouds of rotation at all because it's just been obliterated by the darkness that's over this area. It's like a London fog. You just can't see as to what is going on. Anything that should happen will happen southwest of this location. So, again, for the folks in North Newton, get inside, get to your basement, to a place of safety right now, because there's some very nasty weather here. And again, as Mike mentioned earlier, most of the motorists are taking shelter underneath the bridge overpasses, and we're now getting some more heavy rain along with the hail.
This is Dan Dillon in the KFDI Weather Center. And before we get back to our mobile units, we understand that we have a report by law enforcement of a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick. So this would be in Harvey County. Once again, the report of a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick in Harvey County along Ridge Road. That is information that has come into us just a few moments ago by law enforcement officers. Once again, to repeat, we are getting information from the Highway Patrol of a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick. This would be in Harvey County along Ridge Road. We understand that Ken Vandriff is not too far from this location. Ken, what can you see?
I'm right on the south edge of Sedgwick right now, and I was watching some cloud formations that are farther to the west that look like they had the very real potential of developing into something like a tornado. At this point, I really can't see anything that looks like a tornado, but at the same time, I'm inside a town, and I've got the houses and the trees that are blocking my view, so I'm going to try to get onto the north side of Sedgwick just as quickly as I can to get away from some of these trees. As you can hear, in Sedgwick itself, the tornado siren is sounding, so if you are in Sedgwick, you need to be taking cover right now. This is in the area of Sedgwick. The tornado sirens are going off, and I'm on my way to the north edge of Sedgwick to get a better view of these storms. I understand that there is a law enforcement report of a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick, and we're on the way right now, and to be clear of Sedgwick in just a couple of minutes, and we'll let you know exactly what we see from there. Right now, just past the Ball Diamond and coming up through the area along Ridge Road, past 7th Street and Madison, passing that street, and approaching the north edge of the northwest side of Sedgwick. As we speak, passing right now 8th Street and Madison, and crossing the bridge here on the creek on the north side. Still a lot of trees blocking my path, so I'm not real sure what can be seen. Now as I come out of Sedgwick, I can see a funnel-shaped cloud that is to the east of Ridge Road. There is a swirling going on, and it appears to be a very definite funnel-shaped cloud. I can see the cloud formations above that in what the Weather Bureau people call a wall cloud. It is spinning, and it is on the ground, or I can't really tell that it's on the ground at this time, but it appears to be to the east of Ridge Road and moving to the east-northeast. So we're trying to get around this tree line to see if I can get just a little bit better angle on it. I'll be right back with you. Mobile 24, I'm Ken Vandriff.
Dan Dillon again in the KFDI Weather Center. Once again, we are receiving information from law enforcement that this tornado on the ground, this was coming from a law enforcement officer, was heading to the northeast away from Sedgwick. Ken Vandriff is trying to pick it up right now. He is not too far away. Let's go to KFDI's John Wright. John, can you tell us quickly what you can see and then throw it to Ken?
Now, Dan, very quickly, we've got heavy hail, at least baseball-sized hail now, and it's just like March 13th all over again. We've got clouds that are hanging very close to the ground, in fact, touching the ground, and we could just hardly see through those clouds. There is some swirling taking place, and I have a tree line that's in front of me, and I cannot see exactly. Okay, it is on the ground. I am seeing it. It is on the ground. This is not going to be a rain shaft. This is going to be a tornado. Apparently, this thing is moving very fast and very quickly. I am out of the hail right now. As you can probably tell, you're not hearing any baseball-sized or marble-sized hail hitting me right now. But again, this is a very heavy, intense storm that is on the ground. It is obliterated within rain, and it's picking up a lot of dust and dirt, and it appears to be shrouded in a lot of what may be debris or just dust coming out from an open field. We cannot tell exactly if there's any other funnels spinning around up there, but let's get another check with Ken Vandruff in the Mobile 24.
This is one of those storms that the Weather Bureau tells us about where they say the tornado is embedded in rain. We understand, we just talked with the driver who was here a second ago and ran through this, and he said that there was indeed a tornado on the ground and to the east of Ridge Road and moving away, and then it got embedded in rain, and it just made it impossible to see. Now, it has started raining here at this location very hard. I'm just about maybe a mile and a half north of Sedgwick itself, and I really just want to keep an eye on things as it's going. It's just, if there's a tornado on the ground right now, it's going to be very difficult for me to see it because it will be embedded in a rain shaft area, but the visibility out here is less than a quarter mile because of the rain itself. But the rain is moving on off to the east-northeast and letting up this location, but still raining very heavy as you go on to the farther north of Sedgwick. Now, we also know at this point that the Sedgwick itself is in no danger. Sedgwick, the community of Sedgwick itself is in no danger whatsoever from this particular storm, but still you should be taking cover all the same, just in case this storm should decide to turn. Keeping our eyes open around behind us as well, and it does not appear to be anything that we would want to worry about at this particular moment. I'll say that it's just an area that is embedded in rain, and that rain is now moving on off towards the east-northeast. Mobile 24, I'm Ken Vandruff.
Dan Dillon again in the KFDI Weather Center, and we're getting word from law enforcement officers in the area that the law enforcement officer that first spotted the funnel says that it possibly now has dissipated. So that funnel possibly has dissipated. Let's go back to our KFDI news units. John Wright.
Dan, I'm a little bit south of Newton, south and west of Newton on 135, and this is apparently going to be what everyone is talking about. This is hugging the ground, and is embedded in a lot of heavy rain and a lot of dust that is kicking out. We can see several finger-like clouds that appear to be crawling along the ground, but again, it's very tough because it's embedded in a lot of rain. But it is shrouding the ground, covering it just like it would a heavy rainfall. And it appears to be not moving, but just hovering in one particular spot. This thing is stretching from south of Newton all the way to coming up on an exit point here, exit 25, at about exit 25, and I-135 at an old filling station that's just to the east of the storm cloud itself. We'll keep an eye on it and get back to you later. Let's check with Mike Dennis, who should be somewhere near there in Mobile 27.
I just passed what's known as Farmer's Corner. There's a couple of orchards down the road from there, Stag Orchard and Moore Orchard. I'm back in heavy hail again, and very heavy fog is mixed with this hail, so visibility is limited. Driving along this road, it is a regular asphalt paved road, but it feels like I'm driving along a gravel road. There's that much hail on this road. I have seen a few tree limbs down, and some of the wheat fields along here are very heavily soaked with hail and water, so we are going to get some crop damage out of this. Let's check now with Ken Vandruff in Mobile 22. Still about 2 miles north of Sedgwick on Ridge Road, and watching a couple of different cloud formations that seem to be drawing in energy. One time looked like we might have had another funnel cloud trying to develop to the north of Sedgwick, but that still has yet to organize. So we're just out here with the sheriff's officers and police officers trying to keep an eye on this particular storm from a good high vantage point, and we'll just let you know if anything else should develop. Off to the east of this location, still people out here watching the storm, very little in the way of any kind of visibility. Visibility as you get off to the north and east of here, only going to be about a half mile at the most, maybe a mile if you're lucky. So the storm is definitely moving on off to the east-northeast. Let's go to KFDI's Becky Zolgman at Mobile 21.
I'm coming up behind you on Ridge Road to the north here, and we still have just a lot of cloud activity, no rain or any precipitation yet. At Mobile 21, this is Becky Zolgman.
Dan Dillon in the KFDI Weather Center. A tornado warning has now been issued for northern Sedgwick County and for all of Harvey County until 7:45. Once again, a tornado warning has been issued until 7:45 for northern Sedgwick County and all of Harvey County, and this is possibly because of the rough weather we've seen this evening. First from law enforcement, and then Ken Vandriff and John Wright also saw it. We'll be going back to our news units here in 1 minute. We're going to take a 1-minute break, and we'll be right back to you. Back in 1 minute in the KFDI Weather Center. This is Dan Dillon.
The Big Boot is heading to Denver. This is Dale Zogelman of Western Kansas Express. On top of daily and direct service to Kansas City and all of Kansas, Tulsa, and Oklahoma City, now we're heading to the Rocky Mountains. And we never rest until your shipment's moved. We deliver freight, not excuses. So if your freight is Denver bound, call Western Kansas Express, the one with the big boot on the side. 522-8123. That's 522-8123. Western Kansas Express, the biggest little freight line in Kansas and growing.
It started out as just a regular evening at your Kansas Bonanza. Then he came in.
I'm here for that shrimp special.
324-pound Elroy Jaws Pigowitz had heard about Bonanza's $1.99 all-you-can-eat shrimp special.
More shrimp, please.
Just buy the Fresh-Tastics food bar at regular price and get all the golden fried shrimp you can eat for $1.99.
Bring me more.
214 helpings later, a new record was set, and then it happened.
Congratulations, sir. Here's your soft-serve dessert.
No.
The champion was down, and it became apparent the all-you-can-eat shrimp special at your Kansas Bonanza is enough for any appetite.
From the KFDI Weather Center, this is a tornado warning. This is not a test. We repeat, this is a tornado warning from the KFDI Weather Center.
Dan Dillon in the KFDI Weather Center. The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning in effect until 7:45 for all of Harvey and extreme northern Sedgwick County. At 7:08, the Kansas Highway Patrol reported a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick. Movement was easterly at 15 to 20 miles an hour. This is a dangerous storm. Take cover immediately. Don't hesitate. A few seconds may save your life. If you are in Furley or on Highway 135 near the Sedgwick-Harvey County line, you are in the path of this tornado. We have news units in this area. They are watching the storm. Let's go back to our KFDI mobile units.
This is John Wright in Mobile 22, and we have 1, 2, possibly 3 more wall clouds that are forming. The large area that we were concerned about about a funnel or possible tornado being on the ground has dissipated and is now forming several wall clouds. We did notice a lot of rotation in these wall clouds, and behind those clouds, intense lightning, heavy hail, anywhere from marble-sized to baseball-sized hail being reported by some law enforcement officers. And by the way, it's getting quite cold out here. Before we moved through this area, it was a little warm, so that's the warm in the cold air, dry air mix that's taking place right now, and this is a very huge storm system, enough to form several wall clouds, but at this point it appears that everything has lifted back up into the clouds and possibly forming and gathering some strength right now. We're just to the south of Newton, and it appears that there's a heavy rain shaft that might be mistaken by some spotters as being a tornado on the ground, but we can tell you right now that's heavy, intense rain and lifting some of the clouds back down to the ground. But right now there are several wall clouds that we're looking at. Let's get a check with Mike Dennis in Mobile 27. Mike?
Long County Highway, Harvey County Road 580 right now. and I'm out of the hail. I drove out of it just a little ways down the road. We do have some dark clouds down to our south, and there's no high winds down here, but there's still hail all over the road. It's just like the road looks like it's wintertime out here. Many wheat fields out here are just covered with hail. I'm just in light rain now, no wind, but again, there's some dark clouds down to the south mixed with some lightning, and that's what we want to keep an eye on. Let's check with Ken Vandruff, who's in Mobile 22.
I've taken up a station a couple of miles to the north of Sedgwick, so I can keep an eye on the storm as it's moving away from here. The visibility has increased considerably, but the clouds just keep dipping down, then pulling back up, then dipping back down, then pulling back up. So it's got a definite spiraling motion in it, as a swirling motion as it's pulling the clouds into the rest of the storm. We can watch the circulation of these clouds. At this time, we don't have anything that you could definitely call a funnel, but there are several clouds that would begin to take that kind of a shape if you have to keep watching them very carefully. This is all to the north of Sedgwick. Sedgwick itself is not in danger at this time. We are keeping an eye on it along with the law enforcement officers out here, and we'll let you know if anything should happen to drop out. Mobile 24, I'm Ken Vandruff.
Dan Dillon again in the KFDI Weather Center. We do have some information about some weather farther to the west of us. If you're traveling to the west, you need to be aware of this. The National Weather Service office in Dodge City has issued a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 8 o'clock for people in southern Ford County. That's in southern Ford County. And on your KFDI weather alert map, that would be I-6. I-6. Radar at 7:10 indicated a severe thunderstorm 5 miles south of Dodge City. 3/4-inch hail had fallen along Highway 283 at the KP&L station. Wind gusts near 50 miles an hour can be expected with this storm. The storm will track east-southeasterly across southern Ford County. And we've got some rough weather again. We'll be going back to our news units here in just a little bit. But first, let's direct Becky Zogelman to head a little bit to the south now and see what she can see south down there by Derby. We do have some rain falling down there, but we just want to make sure that that stuff doesn't build up, so maybe that's a good place for Becky to go. But we do have some rough weather up in Harvey County. Let's go out to our KFDI news units.
John Wright at Mobile 22, and we are being pounded, as you can tell, by hail. And that large cloud area we talked about is going to be near the McLean's Road exit. That's where it's going to be, just crossing 135 as we dash in and out. Visibility is reduced to near zero. We cannot see exactly what is going on behind us, but we can tell you that area of clouds that Ken and I and Mike Dennis was watching was at the McLean's Road in I-135, and we just passed an overpass where several motorists have taken shelter, and you just cannot see almost the hood of your car. And that's going to be a very nasty storm that's about ready to cross 135, so take shelter if you haven't already. We're going to try to get on out of this heavy stuff as soon as we can. Let's check with Ken Vandruff. This road is getting very hard to drive on, getting some heavy hits of hail, and the hail is feeling like the gravel is so pit. You can hardly see the exit signs or even the light poles that are on. The lights are on. You can just barely see them for about a quarter mile away. We're going to try to shift to the west on US 50 and see what we can get from the rear vantage point of this storm. Getting a lot of hail, a lot of lightning, and a lot of wind associated with this particular part of the thunderstorm. So, folks, just south of Newton, batten down the hatches and get to the basement. Let's go to Ken Vandruff from Mobile 24. Moving east now to try to catch up with some of these storm clouds, and the swirling motion that I was describing for you a little while ago is just not quite as evident. A little hard to see. I'm surrounded by some trees at the moment, but the storm is definitely moving on off to the east, and at this time is no longer going to be a threat to Sedgwick itself. However, moving on towards Newton and off to the east in southern Harvey County, look out because this thing is coming towards you, and you're going to want to be prepared as this thing moves through with some extremely, extremely heavy rains and some areas of hail and also some pretty high winds. Let's go to KFDI's Mike Dennis in Mobile 27. I'm out just off Harvey County Highway 580. There's a horse farm out here called Chancellor Farms.
The road is just covered with hail. It is very slick out here. I have with me Sedgwick Fire Chief Tom Richardson, and he told us that he'd seen a twister out here a while ago.
This is Tom Richardson, Sedgwick Fire Chief. We definitely had a twister on the ground approximately 4 to 5 miles north of Sedgwick, just east of Ridge Road. Appeared to be about an 1/8 to 1/4 of a mile wide. Started south toward the city of Sedgwick and then pulled back up. Got a lot of hail. No known damage at this time.
Do you know by any chance which way that storm was moving?
It was hard to tell. It started north for a little ways and then come back south again and then just disappeared.
And we'll continue to monitor that. In Mobile 27, this is Mike Dennis.
Dan Dillon in the KFDI newsroom. One reminder for our news units out there, you guys have been doing a good job, but make sure you tell everybody where you're at when you start your broadcast. Bill Roy has been in contact with officials of the National Weather Service. Bill, what have you found out?
Right. Just spoke with them, and they say they gave us the information about the funnel that was apparently reported near Sedgwick. They also say there was some activity of some funnels perhaps around 10 miles southwest of the Newton area, and that information is about 5 to 8 minutes old. Once again, that was about 10 miles to the southwest of the Newton area, and that, of course, is moving to the east-northeast at this point. I asked him about the prospects for the rest of the evening, and they say that there's some activity that is to the southwest of Wichita into Oklahoma that is producing hail, and of course, once again, this stuff is moving to the east-northeast, so we could be in for a bit of an evening here as this weather moves through the central part of our area. Dan?
The National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning in effect for all of Harvey and extreme northern Sedgwick County. So this is not the northern half of Sedgwick County. This is the extreme northern part of Sedgwick County. A tornado warning. And John, let's go to John Wright. John?
And I've got to confirm through Newton law enforcement that they do have a tornado on the ground at K196 in the interstate, I-135, and I can verify that. We have hailstones that are the size of large marble-sized rocks. You can hear that crack of thunder in the background. Visibility is reduced to about 100 feet, maybe less, probably less than that. That's why I ducked underneath an overpass, and I'm not alone. There are several vehicles here, Jeeps, large ones, small ones, cars, just trying to avoid this storm altogether. But again, the most important point right now, they have this tornado on the ground through law enforcement at K196 and I-135. So take shelter. If you're in your car, get to a place of safety, hit the ground. A vehicle is the last place you want to be if you're out in the open, caught in a thunder tornado, such as we had the one that's been confirmed by law enforcement a few moments ago at K196 and I-135. Mobile 22 in Newton, this is John Wright.
We now have, once again, John Wright talking about that tornado. K196 and Interstate 135 is just a little bit to the north of the Sedgwick-Harvey County line right along the interstate. So people driving on the interstate and listening to my voice, listening to our voices, watch out what you're doing. Make sure that you know what you're driving into, because you may be driving into a big mess. Once again, if you've just tuned in, a tornado warning is in effect until 7:45 for extreme northern Sedgwick and all of Harvey County. The Kansas Highway Patrol reported a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick. That's how this started for the second time. This is our second tornado warning of the evening. And now John Wright tells us that he has talked to Newton police, who picked it up and saw it over by K196 and Interstate 135. We have more information now from law enforcement that this weather is moving towards the east. From there, now let's take a look at our map. And what do we have in the way here of Interstate 135 and K196? People in Elbing, people in Whitewater, people in Potwin should be taking cover right now. Whitewater, Elbing, and Potwin are the three cities that could be in the path of this tornado as it heads to the east. Also DeGraff a little bit farther towards the east in Butler County. We're going to go back to our KFDI news units here in just a little bit. Let's go back to John Wright. John, go ahead and start off the rotation.
Then it's starting to clear up just a little bit here, and we're going to make a beeline over to 196 and 135. The visibility has gotten a little better, but not much. Let me tell you, we're getting some heavy lightning right now, and it is just going to be, this one is going to be very nasty. We're going to get on East 50. Whoa! Had to swerve there. I'm telling you, this gravel is not gravel, hailstones. We've been referring to them as gravel. It's really rocky, really hard to drive on. You'll swerve if you're not careful. That advice to the rest of the mobile units. In talking with Newton law enforcement, they tell me that this tornado is moving toward the Whitewater area along K196. It again has gone back up into the clouds, and we are going to try to head over in that direction right now. But I can tell you, it is some very rough going. Most of the motorists have hit underneath the overpasses for shelter, and we can tell you that it's a very hilly, very rocky, very dangerous situation up here, and the motorists are taking precautions. And again, as I try to move east on US 50, we just cannot see the hood in front of our faces here, but we're going to try to stay with it as long as we can and get out of this storm's path by not going down the highway. Whoa! We still making it here. We're still with you. We're heading on eastbound on US 50 and I-135. But again, the wind is really whipping up and moving the mobile units back and forth. But the main point is the tornado from law enforcement apparently has lifted back up and is not on the ground as it once was on I-135 and K196. But we want to tell those folks over in the Whitewater area to take shelter, take precaution. Right now, this is a very, very severe tornado and situation that we have up here.
Okay, this is Dan Dillon again in the KFDI Weather Center. We understand that tornado sirens are going off in Sedgwick County. The reason that these tornado sirens are going off in the Wichita area is because of the tornado that has been sighted at K196 and Interstate 135. This is just north of Sedgwick County, but the tornado sirens are being sounded in Sedgwick County as a precaution. No severe weather has been sighted in Sedgwick County that is south of us or south and west of us. It's because of the stuff that is north of us. And I want to tell everybody in Wichita that is the reason why the tornado sirens are going off now in the Wichita area. If you've just tuned in, a tornado warning is in effect for people in extreme northern Sedgwick and all of Harvey County. This is because a tornado that has been dissipating and forming again is now eastbound from K196 and Interstate 135. If you're at work, stay away from windows, avoid areas with large, poorly supported roofs, take shelter in the basement or inner hallway on a lower level or safety area that you know about. Don't use elevators. The power may go off and you could become stuck in between floors. During this tornado warning, if you're at home, stay away from windows. Take shelter in your basement, preferably under heavy furniture. If you do not have a basement, take cover under heavy furniture on the ground floor in the center part of the house or small room on the ground floor away from outside walls or windows. If you have time, shut off electricity and fuel lines. That's if you have time. Now, if you're at school, stay away from windows. Avoid gymnasiums and auditoriums and stay inside near a wall on the lower floor. During a tornado warning, if you're in open country, move at right angles to the tornado's path. If there is not enough time to find cover, lie flat in the nearest ditch, ravine, culvert, or beneath a bridge. Do not stay in your car. Let's go to KFDI's Bill Roy.
Just got off the phone with the 911 dispatchers in Sedgwick County, and they are saying that they have law enforcement reports of a possible tornado on the ground in the area of 111th North and Hillside. This is in Sedgwick County. Park City officers are apparently doing the reporting of a possible funnel in the area of 111th North and Hillside. That is from the dispatchers at 911 in Sedgwick County. That is why the sirens are going off in Sedgwick County at this point. Dan?
Okay, the news units may not have heard that. Bill Roy was telling us that the sirens are going off in the Wichita area because we believe Park City officers have sighted a funnel at about 111th Street North and Hillside. We'll be checking that out. This is KFDI-AM-FM in Wichita. The time is now 7:34, and the temperature here at the Radio Ranch, 65 degrees. Mid-Continent Airport's temperature is 66 under a mostly cloudy sky. We're going to take a 1-minute break. Once again, we'll take a 1-minute break when we'll be back with more weather information in the KFDI Weather Center. This is Dan Dillon.
Weather Center. Here's Dan Dillon.
An area of severe thunderstorms with large hail is in south-central Kansas. These severe storms are along a line from near Hutchinson to Newton to 30 miles northeast of Wichita. They're spread across Harvey County and extreme northern Sedgwick County. They're moving easterly at 20 miles an hour. Also, a tornado warning is in effect until 7:45 for all of Harvey County and extreme northern Sedgwick County. The Kansas Highway Patrol reported a tornado on the ground 4 miles north of Sedgwick. This was a little bit after 7 o'clock tonight. It was moving easterly at 15 to 20 miles an hour. We understand now that the tornado, if it is still a tornado or if it has dissipated or it has pulled up from the ground and become a funnel again, has now moved farther towards the east. We have 4 news units on the street. Let's get a report from our KFDI mobile units.
And this is John Wright in the Mobile 22. We are north of Newton. We took the North Newton exit from Highway 50 and are headed east. We're about 15 miles from Peabody. Last word from Newton law enforcement is this path, a storm path, was headed toward the Whitewater area. We are embedded in a lot of heavy rain. We have a lot of lightning, and we also have some clouds that are just moving and hanging. No rotation yet, but are headed in that general easterly direction. We'll keep an eye on that. Back in Newton, the folks are still under the overpasses for protection. The hailstones that came down just littered the highway, resembling a winter snowfall. That's how tough it is, and especially driving. The semi slowed down. It's very slippery. Those hailstones are very large and will cause the wheels to roll. You cannot get any traction on those at all. We have not listened or heard, I should say, any reports of damage in the Newton area, but still some very rough stuff back there. Let's check with Ken Vander from Mobile 24.
I'm about 2 miles north of Sedgwick and 4 to 5 miles east of Sedgwick on some county roads, some gravel roads, watching some clouds that just keep dropping down, swirling around a little bit, then they pull back up into the clouds. So I really haven't had anything at this point that would indicate any kind of a tornado, but we still keep watching these clouds as they dip and swirl and churn and circulate throughout the backside of these particular clouds. We're watching them very closely. We've understand there's been some other cloud formations that they're watching to the north of Sedgwick, and KFDI's Mike Dennis is there in Mobile 27. I am in Sedgwick now along Harvey County Road 811. Here in the community of Sedgwick, the sky is clear. There is no rain. The streets are clear. This is nothing like the hail we were in earlier over along West Highway 50 and that John Wright is in now. But many of the people out here are watching these clouds because it could form up very quick into something that could be tornadic. It's warmer over here than it was over towards West Highway 50, and when that warm and cool air hits, that's when you have the potential for tornadoes. Let's check now with Becky Zogelman, who's in Mobile 21.
I'm just on the southeast side of Sedgwick, and right now, as I said, over to the north of us, you can see a lot of clouds and a lot of lightning, but that's about all that we see right now. In Mobile 21, this is Becky Zogelman.
Dan Dillon again in the KFDI Weather Center. A tornado warning has now been issued for northern Butler County. At 6:32, a tornado was reported by the Kansas Highway Patrol 22 miles north of Wichita, just east of the junction of Highway 135 and Kansas Highway 196. It was moving easterly at 20 miles an hour toward Whitewater and Potwin. Take cover at once. Do not wait until the storm's upon you. It might be too late. So we need to get some news units over into the Butler County area. I'm sure we've got them heading that way right now.